Richard Clavet looks forward to Canadian snowbirds coming to Florida every year.
They create bond here and friendship.
Canadians have filled his motels for the past 35 years, but this year was different.
With Canadians right now, we're about 30%, when we should be more like around 80%. So it's a big drop.
Canadians led the list of top international visitors in the United States, and the U.S. Travel Association says they've generated $20.5 billion in spending last year, supporting 140,000 American jobs. So even a small drop could have a real impact.
We're seeing definitely an increase in snowbirds exploring alternate destinations to the U.S.
Stephen Fine, the president of Snowbird Advisor, working with Canadians who travel south for the winter, calls it a perfect storm.
There's a lot of uncertainty right now.
There's a lot going on. Trump's tariffs and his talk about Canada becoming the 51st state, new entry requirements for those spending more than 30 days here, and the weak Canadian dollar, making a trip to the U.S. expensive. The cost was why Sharon Savoy didn't head south for her usual snowbird trip this year, but she's now holding off because of the politics.
I definitely will not be coming to the United States this year. And unless things change, probably not until Trump is out of administration. He's a threat to us, and he's a threat to so many other countries in the world that we value.
That concern even seeping into real estate.
There's definitely been a noticeable change.
Cher Ross, a realtor in Southeast Florida, says about half of her French-Canadian clients have either sold, plan to sell, or are not doing seasonal rentals since Trump's victory.
I think they were concerned mostly with the value of their property. There was one couple who flat out said, we're selling because we don't want to be around for this political regime.
There's also increasing concern that Europeans may limit travel to the U.S., impacting the broader economy. Germany issuing a travel advisory after some of its citizens were detained coming to the U.S. The number of visitors is already down 8.5% this February compared to last, and tourists from France down 5.6%. Not everybody is changing their itinerary. Travel from the U.K. is up since last year. And Jacques Girard, a snowbird from Quebec, says he loves Florida.
I have a tan. I'm very calm. I do what I want every day, eat where I want. I would stay home and freeze my butt off.
But will more Canadians give Florida the cold shoulder next winter?
This year, very, very few reservations for next year because they're all uncertain.
Uncertainty over which direction these snowbirds will fly, with some ending up just a bit further south in Cuba.
Great weather, great people. That's why we keep coming back.
I think that the people from Canada prefer to go to Cuba than Florida, man, because of Trump. He's, I'm not going to say what he is, but yeah.
George Solis is joining us now from Florida. Okay, George, so if some of those Canadians anecdotally are going to Cuba instead of Florida, canceling those trips, where else are they headed?
Yeah, well, Hallie, keep in mind, Cuba is just one destination. And interestingly enough, there are actually less Canadians heading to Cuba than this time last year. So some of those people that you heard from in our story there, they gave us an insight where snowbirds are going. And this may or may not surprise you. They're actually heading south of the border to Mexico. So that is one other destination that they're considering. And some of the other usual suspects may not surprise you. You're looking at Spain, Portugal, some other countries, and the Caribbean. We should point out here where we are. We're at the Broadwalk in Hollywood, Florida. We actually found a restaurant here that actually caters to French-Canadian tourists, where we picked up this little delicacy. You may recognize it as poutine. Yeah. That's poutine right here. And so they're telling me that they're actually hearing from some of their tourists now that are already here that they may not want to come back next year because of the same concerns that you heard about. So they're worried that there will be no one here to enjoy this delicious delicacy. Allie?
You will be there, however, with our crew. George Solis, you know, you always manage to find the best spot for these live shots. George, thank you very much for that. Super interesting.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.